And no fear, hippie heroes here. And today we are gonna see what appears on YouTube. We're gonna be watching a video by AZHMOVS. He's a great content creator. Make sure you like and follow. And let's get into it.
Hey everyone, you're being watched. In the Forgotten Ruins dungeon there are knights that line the walls. There's a chance when walking past them they'll turn their heads and stare at you. In a similar way,
Yeah, I
on the
need that
Sanctum
one.
of Wrath, the stone
Yep,
statues
need that
surrounding the
one.
base of the temple will
I
turn
wanna
to look
see
at you
which
each
ones I
time you
don't
look away,
know.
only moving when your eyes are averted. That's not all that's watching you though. Many characters in the realm are aware of your presence. They'll turn to face you in the lobby, and even sometimes speak to you directly. They know you're there. The entity watches you in-game too, through its crows, out from the killer's eyes, and more intensely with its presence in the basement,
Does
which
it
is
do
the
for the
entity's
crows and
heart within
eyes?
the trials. There are even eyes watching from the most unexpected places. Look into Krampus's basket, and you just might find a set of eyes peering out. Another pair
That's
of eyes you may have
interesting.
not seen are out in the fog in the lobby screen. You'll have to squint your eyes a bit for this one, as it only becomes clear that way. If you look at around this area here, between the trees, you'll occasionally see a figure standing with yellow eyes. Becoming a killer of the entity's
Should I
realm is
believe
not
that
an
one?
easy process. In the lore we learn of a character named Alex, who is captured by the entity. The entity then attempts to make him a killer through various methods, such as strapping him to a table and striking him repeatedly with lightning, with every monster Alex had dreamt of surrounding him in glass cages. This is the kind of thing the entity does to make its killers. The entity further takes its bonds very seriously.
I
When you
have
swear an oath
heard
to
that
serve it,
before.
you're going to serve it. On Spirit we can see this visually, with the entity's markings found scratched across her entire body, the entity whispering to Rin and engraving her with its markings. The entity as a creature itself also seems to just attack the killers sometimes. Characters like Bubba, for example, have mentions of the claws of the entity directly striking at him. Many of the killers, in order to obey the entity, may well have been survivors at one point too. Billy possibly could have been, with the toolbox making a subtle hint that he was the previous owner. And Trapper, of course, is pierced with hooks, something that the survivors typically have happen to them. The realm is mysterious, but its secrets are recorded. Characters in the realm have unique methods of doing this though. Secrets are not recorded on paper, but instead living beings. We can see this physically on Vittorio, and we can see the product of how this information is carried on after the person's death in the map. Many survivors have visible scars from prior near-death experiences,
Huh.
or in some case, experiences that should have caused their deaths, had the
Think of
entity
that.
not taken them. They are quite literally scarred with the things that killed them, which must be pretty daunting. Ever had the odd feeling that Maurice is calling you to come over and pet him? Something compels
Every
you.
single day.
Well, it's because Maurice actually has special powers and is capable of speaking to people with his mind. Has he ever done this to you? Maurice's owner, the clown, has a disturbing residence, a caravan, where
I love
inside
that
we can
lore.
see what seems to be newspaper articles making reference to other killers of the realm, as if he was studying them. Ghostface, in a similar way in
That
his own
makes
lore,
sense
seems to
since
look
he's
up
based
to the
off of
trapper and
Gacy.
study him also, seeming to idolize him. The killers know about each other, and they study each other prior to the realm. What's sort of disturbing about the realm as a whole though, and the setting of DBD in an omniverse, is that some characters knew each other as fictional before they met inside of the realm. Min wears a Jill cosplay, despite the real Jill being there in the realm with her. That's going to be a
True.
pretty scary realization. Everything you think is possible could well be out there. Jill as a character has a pretty creepy fact. After being infected with the T-virus by Nemesis and later cured by Carlos, her aging becomes greatly slowed, meaning years later she looks exactly the same. What's creepier though is the effects of the Blighted Serum. For one, it's capable of creating life, not only through resurrection, but also it can seemingly spawn separate consciousnesses inside of a single being. For Nemesis we can see a second eye form, a similar mutation to Birkin, which causes him to split between his peaceful and
Oh,
violent
that's
states. On the
cool.
Blight himself we can see faces in many of the skins, these likely coming from the component of the serum, the soul chemical, likely the souls of survivors, which then manifest on the very skin of Blight, trying to break free. Another character who experimented on themselves was Hag, who scratched one of the hex symbols into her own head, allowing her greater ability but twisting her body into this. Blight experimented on himself fairly recently by inducing a squid-like creature he found within a corpse from the sea. This creature then symbiotically attached to him and connected with him, empowering and transforming him, sort of like a weird squid blight venom. Nurse is interesting as she can
I
seemingly
need to read
see
the lore a little
despite her
bit more
eyes
on
always being
cosmetics.
covered. This seems to be a product of her being transformed by the entity. It's unclear how, but I sort of imagine it might look a bit like Daredevil vision. The entity has allowed her to see without seeing. Maybe something to do with the spirit world, which is what she enters when she blinks. Bubba's
Probably.
masks are all made out of his victims, and at one point in the realm he even had masks of the original 4 survivors
I miss
if he
them.
sacrificed them
I never
enough
got
times. These were removed for
See 'em.
good reason though. Myers gets a different reward for
They're
his
removed 'cause
persistent
of racism.
service, with his blade seeming to hold the souls of slain survivors within the pumping veins seen across the blade. Pretty disturbing. And this could well be the case for all of these blades. The pulsing you see within the veins is the survivors trapped inside. This is something the entity is more widely capable
Oh,
of,
that's
keeping things alive
cool.
in parts. Take iridescent flesh for example, where it appears the person it came from is still alive within it despite it being separated from them. On the map Springwood we can see paintings of Nancy Holbrook on the walls, a creepy finding with this being Freddy's obsession, likely because this realm is taken and constructed from his mind and thoughts, so his obsession manifests on the walls. In Freddy's original power you could also see Nancy's face within his hand when he pulled someone into the dream world, suggesting
What?
before he attacked Quentin he may have actually captured or killed her. On Midwich there's a secret room
That
that
was
can be
such a
accessed
good
by repairing certain
thing.
generators. In this room is a creepy cult-like vibe,
I
and
know
also
about
a
that.
chest. Also on Midwich, when the endgame collapse starts, the clock in the center of the map will start going crazy and spinning erratically. This may be the entity's presence, as in Jake's tome lore,
I
his
knew about
compass
that one.
also becomes erratic just before he is taken into the realm. The entity seems to mess with both time and space. Its
And
presence
numbers with Jonah
disrupts
as well.
the area around you. Pretty freaky. On Springwood you can find Freddy's secret crawl space room where he took his victims to and kept many
Yep,
of his
seen it.
disturbing photos. In a similar way, Huntress's space where she kept the girls she stole is visible within her cabin, a disturbing look into what life was like for them. There's a
Oh, I
very
never really
creepily
thought about
written
that.
and confusing review
Have
of Mount
full
Ormond
unleash and
Resort
everything.
written on a leaflet you could find on a table. It could very well be a weird construction of various memories and thoughts of Ormond from those brought into the fog. In Dead Dog Saloon, the piano plays itself. Pretty creepy. In the back room of Dead Dog, we can find Myers' knife pinned into a table, suggesting out of the trials, Myers may go in between realms and threaten other killers. The lore behind Dead Dog is even more
Is it
disturbing
Mackey's?
though, with there being a large gang altercation between Deathslingers and another gang. The bodies found around the map are the aftermath of that massacre. Plague
Back to Dead Dog. Inside the killer shack, there's also a bunch of inscriptions, and I believe they were inscriptions left by the Black Veil, which is a cult that formed the Dredge. Hattie went looking for him, and I think Adiris, or as known as Plague, um, like her branch, I believe, like started the Black Veil, and it's lasted for thousands of years. Or it's speculated. It's a theory. A DVD theory.
is missing a toe. She cut it off as an offering to try and save one of her people. She then, as you do, makes it into an amulet which she wears around her neck. The hag's captors were pretty terrible people. For one, they
Yeah.
ate other people. The grandma of the village even had a cookbook, specifically for recipes surrounding this, which is more than disturbing. Whilst traversing the fog, Jake seems to encounter a xenomorph, which seems to implant another xenomorph into him, with his chest bursting open as he feels something crawling from within. This could also be the spiders though from Terra Arachna. We can talk about that a bit later. Nia's prestige cosmetics have very strange and creepy flavor text. They're very strangely worded and written and almost poetic in some ways, but extremely creepy. On Autohaven you can find various parts of Azeroth's victims within the crushed cubes. On Midwich, crying can be heard from one of the bathroom stalls. There's also a locker that flaps
heard
open
that.
and shut and leaks out blood.
Seen that.
On Elias, there's a bloody handprint on his back, likely from where he previously moried someone, with survivors shown to hit the same place on his back each time. Bill has
I
a
haven't thought
scratch
of
on his
that.
jacket, which is more than likely from an attack prior to the events of Left 4 Dead, from a witch, as he seems to know what witches are, where the other characters do not. The Void is a mysterious place, and lots of terrible things are down there, such as large eyes with lots of tentacles. Characters describe it as a never-ending wasteland of realms tossed aside by the entity. The weird growth in Macmillan is actually a way into it too, which is a bit scary to think about that it's so close, right in the trials here with us. It actually opened as a
Oh,
result of the Observer deciding to enter the Void, in hopes of finding a way out of the realm, so that's what that terrifying mass is on top of the water tower. The realm as a whole is very
that is
old,
very
with the
interesting.
entity running trials with ancient Greeks and Romans, one of them even being Romulus, founder of Rome. The entity, after all, is capable of traversing time and space at will, and so can take you whenever, wherever. Tiffany is seemingly bound to Chucky's soul.
I wonder if like gods are real in the DBD universe. I feel like there's a strong possibility they are probably real, like Greek gods and everything, and then um the entity take inspiration from that and try and copy them or even kidnap them. I know there are like other beings like the entity, and there's even like a higher being above them. Um, I believe that was mentioned in like the Vigo lore, I believe. He's basically a guy who was trying to escape from the realm, and he's documented all sorts of things.
And is not actually herself, but instead Chucky. This is why in game she is carried around by Chucky's ghost and not her own. In a similar way, Victor of the twins seemingly has a shared soul with Charlotte, with him dying prior to the realm. It's likely also the two bards are also part of the same soul, with them being the same selectable character in the lobby. When they were taken in, they seem to have been merged into one almost. The entity's true form is something that has persistently evaded us. It seems like its true form is simply a fog. We see a potential version of its true form in the casting of Frank Stone trailer, with this strange skeletal spider-like being. There's a world in the Omniverse which the entity attacks with massive spiders. If the spiders bite you, you get infected and they burst out of you. In this world, Full City, Nia's town, is attacked. An alternate version of Nia gets killed, along with her friend Casey and some others. The entity creates apocalypses like this a lot. This is just one of the more horrifying ones. The
I don't like
skulls on
the
totems
DBD
within trials are more
multiverse.
than likely the
It's an
result of
excuse for
killers
bad
using
writing a lot of
moris,
times.
with a memento mori charm hanging from the totems. Where the rest of the survivor goes after the mori could be explained with the survivor pudding offering. Blight tagged many of the killers of the realm, injecting them with his blighted serum and transforming them. One thing that is unclear though is his tags. Each killer was given a unique number and alchemical symbol. What these numbers mean though is unclear. What is Blight up to? There's another Oni in the realm from another universe. This Oni wears green and gold armor and is far scarier than the one in game. This Oni wipes out many samurai imposters, but further slays whole clans such as the Red Crown clan. The last member of this clan, Saku, enters the fog to kill this Oni, but each time she does, he simply reappears and reforms from the fog. In the Forgotten Ruins map, you can find a beholder locked in the basement that will jump out if you get close. A large
It's really
eye-like
cool, I
creature
love it.
with many tentacles coming out of it. Something very similar actually to what was seen in The Void. Did you buy the Sadako DLC? Well, it's already too late.
Absolutely.
7 days after buying the DLC, you'll have a secret video play when the game launches with a DVD recreation of the cursed tape. It's pretty creepy. When equipping the Eye of Vecna as a survivor,
saw it, it
the
was
survivor
awesome.
will actually replace it with their own eye. Just stuffing it in there is pretty crazy. In Dracula's prestige skin, his
like
eyes
Naruto.
turn a blood red. From the cosmetic description, it appears as a consequence of centuries in the realm of killing survivors. All of their blood literally turning his eyes red. On Shelterwoods, you can find some interesting things inside of Skull Merchant's fridge. Come over to the mannequins outside and you'll see
I've
where
seen
some
it.
of these might have gone. A pretty messed up practice range. You can also find one of Skull Merchant's unreleased prototypes on the table, a grisly looking drill affixed to the arm. Pretty extreme and quite disturbing. There's also another on a different table with a long curved blade, tools of torment, some
Probably
might
will
say.
be
On the
used.
game you can find the aftermath of Saw in the bathroom, only in this version, and from Amanda's own head, Both participants end up dead. Inside the freezer on the game, you can find a frozen woman. This is Danica from Saw 3.
Oh, nothing works on this acne.
Yep, if anybody wants to help me out with YouTube Premium, I appreciate that. You don't have to. I think everybody gets tired of commercials.
Over on planet Devaka, we can find some
let's see if I
incredibly
can do
creepy
it.
skeletal bird-like creatures that circle the skies. What these are, no idea, but they are mildly terrifying. The presence of the Cenobite referencing add-ons suggests the entity may have defeated the other Cenobites at some point. Whilst Pinhead and Chatterer are present in the realm, all that is taken from them is a tooth and a pin. For Butterball and the female Cenobite, we can see a cracked lens, a likely sign he was killed, and the impaling wire of the female Cenobite, suggesting a similar fate. Oni did a lot of bad stuff on his rampage across Japan, but he's noted to have a thing for removing things he doesn't believe people to be worthy of, such as a lion tattoo, top knot, and a face. A number of things will fall out of Dredge whilst in the lobby. Hands will grab out, Maurice will fall out, but also these weird large claws or pincers or something will appear. No idea what these are even from, but it ain't right. Vecna keeps an absurd amount of what looks to be lambs in jars. The Blight's Curse cat outfit appears to not actually be Talbot himself, but instead a cat who ingested the serum, transforming it into a blighted monstrosity. Every survivor in the realm is slowly losing their minds. Each trial they get dimmer and dimmer, and the observer even sees the outcome of this a few times. Despite the overwhelming power of many of the characters in the realm, such as Dracula, Vecna, Pyramid Head, and more, none are capable of defeating or rivaling the entity's power, with it capable of molding them to its will, and even directly applying nerfs onto them all. The world of Rainbow Six Siege is one of the realms destroyed and consumed by the entity, with some of its operators present and others dead. The state of these operators is also suggested through some of the cosmetics. Something bad happened to Blitz. Not only this, but more formidable worlds such as Attack on Titan, including its titans, are within the entity. All of these likely in the Void currently. The entity consumes all. Spirit will inflict the same wounds her father did to her when enacting her Mori onto survivors. Oni will straight up pull a tongue out when he does his Mori, a callback to his lore when he also pulls out a tongue for being named Oni Yamaoka by a lord. Being Mori'd by Pinhead or Dredge is worse though. Pinhead's portal likely leads to the labyrinth, or hell essentially, and whatever is inside of Dredge is pretty unknown, but it's a whole realm in there in its own right, where even more suffering is inevitable. The blood points in-game are quite literally made of the blood of prior survivors in the trials. The realm is noted as a cycle of life and death, and so the death feeds into life, and the life into death, eternally. The most advanced Earth in the Omniverse is Terra Primus, the Observer's homeworld, and the closest characters to destroying the entity. Despite this, they've been wiped out by it, suggesting there really is no hope. Yay! What's even more fun though is that the Observer suggests that even if something could defeat the entity, it wouldn't matter, because everything within it, and maybe even on an omniversal scale, would go down with it. So all those lost realms, all those lost characters, likely aren't getting out of this. Legion are one of the more innocent appearing characters, but they actually do a lot.
Honestly, it feels like he feels so small compared to Terra Primus and like the entity. Like if something did happen to an entity, it would be like if something happened to a person and you were trying to save like the bacteria on that person. Like it's so small and insignificant, it really you can't do it.
Of terrible stuff in their lore, including causing a large traffic accident after moving some road signs. Huntress appears to have great supernatural ability even prior to entering the realm, with her capable of withstanding the direct flames of a flamethrower. This is likely because she's actually a werelk, as we discover later on. Billy seems to have a fairly similar inhuman resistance, with him surviving the explosions from a multitude of fireworks and what seems to be gasoline. Sable has the same tattoo on her leg that was present on the hand of Pam, Lisa's friend, who was killed after its usage. Pretty creepy. After being approached by the unknown, Olivia...
There's a theory Sable is created by the entity, because Michaela's lore does not list anything about a Sable at all.
a character investigating it begins to hear dozens of voices talking to her and calling her with promises of the unknown. It's an incredibly unsettling ending to the lore, and we don't know what exactly happens to this Olivia. It could have been the entity, as it does hold grudges. Throughout the multiverse, paranormal investigators Hattie and Jordan are taken multiple times across many universes. How many are in the realm is unclear, but the entity seems to target them, which has got to be terrifying. Despite the scale of this thing, it actively targets individuals. In a similar way, Carl, a simple cashier, seems to be targeted multiple times across the Omniverse, being killed by both Ghostface but also the Legion. This Billy skin is made of quite a disturbing material, likely taken from his massacre of Coldwind Farm. With age, Hag begins to petrify, and the only way she can keep herself from becoming stone is by consuming blood from something living, which would explain her Mori in the realm, and how she drips blood into her mouth after each hit. Hux's original form looked really terrifying, being a very
What?
humanoid looking robot with red eyes. I mean, just picture that thing chasing you down. Within the
Oh,
Garden
that
of
would
Joy
be
main
cool.
building, you can hear the cries from the community members who died there, consumed by the dredge. You'll also notice inside that the furniture is upside down and on
See
the
that?
ceiling, likely a phenomenon caused by the Garden of Joy house being situated within an overlap, a crossing between our world and the entities. Trix the Mad Designer seems to be growing in power each year and takes over each anniversary, seemingly not by the entity's will or liking. She's able to avoid it by hiding away in a subrealm inaccessible to the entity. She's quite powerful too, able to create whole entire creatures herself, such as the Jabberwock. Unlike more trusted characters like Vigo, we don't really know what Trix is up to, and it could be something.
Did she create it? I don't remember seeing anything on Lore that says she created the Jabberwock. I'll have to go look into that. I don't remember her being last year's anniversary, but I think that is the time the Jabberwock skin came out.
Something quite bad. The mystery of Benedict Baker is a confusing one. One day he was at the campfire, but then ever since the release of the clown he's disappeared. Gone from the campfire and gone from the lore. His fate, the void maybe? Or perhaps a traveller of the fog. Whatever the case, his disappearance is unsettling. I mean, imagine if one of the survivors one day just straight up disappeared. Like you just couldn't play them anymore, and you were never told why. That's how the survivors must be feeling. On Charlotte's Eternal Anguish skin, you can see the unsettling coffin of Victor that she keeps tied to her back, a disturbing reality of Victor's young death. Ghostface's silver mask was one he made specifically so that the victim would see their own expression of fear before he finished them. Unlike the other killers,
That's
Wesker
cool.
actually opted to inject himself with the blighted serum, likely a result of his constant desire to want to evolve to be a greater being. Characters who traverse the fog often become transformed by it. Clown, for example, is said to be reshaped by the myths of the Greek god Hades, likely whilst traversing an abandoned ancient Greek realm. The fact you could just be wandering through this strange fog one day and your body literally begins to physically change is incredibly disturbing in my opinion. Music seems to
That's
also have a
interesting.
similar effect. When the killers hear seemingly both Iron Maiden or Slipknot, they physically begin to transform as a result of the music, as its effect on them is manifesting on them physically seemingly, which is mildly terrifying. This is because much
That's
of the
actually
realm
pretty
is built
cool.
on thought though, so something entering the character's mind could well influence how they are physically presented. In the Serum Vial add-on for Unknown, we learn that its DNA could not be identified. Whatever Unknown is, it's either alien, or I think likely originating from the Entity's realm. But realistically, no one knows what this thing is. In Spirit's Awakened origin outfit, we see the full unleashed potential of her Yamaoka blood. With it, we see a much darker spirit with red eyes and armor. A bad timeline spirit, as it were. This
That is
could well
cool.
have been the product of her meeting
That
the Oni, her
cosmet
much
for the
more
mask,
violent
that's my favorite
ancestors,
cosmet
which
for
similar
her.
to those other skins could have physically altered her.
Combined with the
In-game there are
prestige
newspapers titled
cosmetics as
Behavior
well.
Times
It looks
scattered
very
around,
intimidating.
suggesting the existence of behavior within the realm itself. The entity is aware of their existence.
Oh,
It's likely
what?
aware that in one
Behavior's in
universe,
it?
its realm is a game. The entity is aware of their existence and of all of ours. So, what now? I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and
Okay, yeah, that should be it for this video. I really liked this video. This is probably one of the better DVD videos I've seen in a little while. Had a lot of facts I surprisingly didn't know, and I know quite a few DVD facts. At least I thought I did, but the lore can be so big at times, it's kind of easy to lose track of. Um, so yep, I hope everybody has a great and wonderful night. Make sure you give Asmus a like and follow, and I'll see you around. Have a great day. Bye bye.